Hi everyone, Stephanie Bryan, Garden Girl at Two Peas in a Bucket here with you today for the next edition of the Storytellers here at Two Peas. I'm going to be using this month's mood board. This is the May mood board that you can find at twopeasinabucket.com on the blog, as well as Wilna's Printables this month. These are the 3x3 inch cards which you can scale down if you wanted to. Here's the layout that I'm going to be walking you through. And first, to get started, I'm just going to show you some supplies and some different things that I've pulled out. Here I have a few photos of my children. These are Wilna's printables, and I don't know if you can tell, but I printed mine onto vellum. I really love vellum. I love the softness that it adds. It definitely makes them a little bit lighter, and I knew I was going to use a white background, so I'm okay with that, but I really like the way they came out. If you've never printed on vellum, you just print it like you would on a regular piece of paper. You don't have to change it to your printer settings to photo paper. Just use regular paper. Here I have some of the Dear Lizzie wood veneer, some Dear Lizzie flare. I'm not really sure what I'm going to be using. I know I'm probably not going to use pattern paper really. I think I'm going to stick with Wilna's printables as the majority of my color on my page, as well as my photos. And I just grabbed this little jar that had some clothespins and some different tags and a couple different pieces of embellishments that I might use on my page. This week's theme, the Storytellers theme, is the who, what, why, when, where, telling a story using those prompts. So I think I'm going to incorporate not necessarily one story, but just how my kids get along right now. They're at their current ages. They really are, I'm so grateful, they really are best friends and they really do love each other. And they are always together and they're always playing, and I have tons of photos of them. So instead of going in the direction of picking one story that involved a person at a place and a certain situation, I'm just going to focus on the story of my kids. And these are some recent pictures that I have, and you'll see here I'm going to stick with a grid design. I really like the grid design. I like how it covers, I like the fullness of the page with the photos. So I'm just grabbing a few different Wilna's printables, the ones on vellum, and I'm just laying them out. And as you can see, I tried to balance my page. So at the top hand side, you have one that's the black and white or the black ink, and then the photo and a flower, and then the second row has two photos, and then I kind of did the exact opposite in the bottom row just to give it a little bit of balance. So that black text is on the top left and the bottom right, and then my photos are kind of balanced out as well. You don't have to do this, and you can still have balance with your page if you don't have your photos symmetrical, or your cards aren't symmetrical, or you even leave a space out. That's really fun to do too if you just don't put a photo there and you add something else to kind of fill in that space. So here I grabbed just some white shipping tags that I got from an office supply store, and I'm just going to slide those beneath my photo. I think for my journaling and the who, what, why, when, where prompt, I think I'm going to do my journaling on the tags and then slide them underneath my photos, and that will be the main part of my journaling. So the page itself, you'll see the photos and the cards, and then the journaling will be underneath each photo. So I'm just grabbing out some embellishments here. The page is a little busy with the photos and the cards, so I'm definitely going to try to go a little more neutral and simpler here. So I'm thinking maybe some of the wood accents might be nice, like a paper clip. Thought about maybe paper clipping, adding a paper clip at the top of each photo. Kind of stands it up quite a bit. So I'm trying to figure out what I want to do there. So I was just playing around, which is what I usually do, just move things around and see how I like it. And I'm going to grab these photos here, and on the back I'm going to stitch a piece of paper onto the back so then I can slide in my tag. My sewing machine is right next to me. So I'm going to slide in the tag, thinking I might do like a tag and then kind of paper clip that tag in a little bit if I can get that to work, and I like that when it's done. So I took the cards or the photos over to my sewing machine, just trimmed down a piece of paper that was smaller than my photo, and as you can see around the edges, I sewed around 3 sides. So it creates a pocket. This one I didn't sew at the top because I was scared I was going to run into my daughter's head. So I'll just leave that one as it is. So I tried to make sure I knew where I had placed the photos, and I left the opening against the side where the tag would slide in on the outside or the top side. So for my journaling, I think I'm going to grab out some of my alphabet stamps and my ink pad. These are Hero Arts uppercase alpha, and I love these. I use these all the time. I love the font and that they're not too big. So I'm just going to stamp here the who, what, when, and where. I don't think I'm going to do why because I have 4 photos. So I'm going to do those 4 prompts, and I'm just going to speed the video up just a little bit as I stamp these. And you can see that I am adding the who, what, where, and when up at the top, and that's going to leave me room to write my journaling along the side of the tag or on the back. The tags aren't too large, but since I have 4 tags, I think I'll be able to get the majority of my journaling on there. So here you can see the when, what, where, and who, and I wrote my journaling. I turned it on the side, I wrote my journaling, and then on the back, if I ran out of room, on the front. And then my plan is to take them and just slide them in the back or the side of those photos that has the stitching on there to create that little pocket. So now that I have all my journaling done and my photos printed and a good idea of how I want this page to turn out, I think I'm ready to go ahead and start sticking stuff down. Now, I do really like to and find myself more productive if I have my photos printed, have an idea of the direction my page is going to go, and then write out or type out my journaling before I start assembling the layout. I feel like it's just kind of like putting a puzzle together. If I can get all the other stuff done, then putting it together is so simple. It's just kind of the finishing touches. And I love having the journaling done. Sometimes I'm not the best at since I do Project Life and I add so many stories in Project Life and so many photos and quotes and memories in Project Life, I sometimes am not the best at adding more than just a line or 2, or sometimes even a title on my traditional layouts. And I'm totally fine with that because I like using the traditional layout as a creative outlet and just being able to create, and I try not to make myself feel guilty if I don't add journaling or a title or any of that stuff. I literally do it just to have fun and play around, and I'm thankful that I do keep a Project Life album because that's where the majority of our stories and memories are. So here you can see I added pop dots to the back of the photos. I wanted them to pop off of the page a little bit, add a little bit of dimension, give a little bit of shadow underneath those photos instead of being flat on the page. I like using pop dots, and I use them a lot on embellishments or my photos, anything that I might want to stand out a little bit. For the rest of the cards there, the printables from Wilna, I am going to stitch those into place, I think, because I guess I could use some kind of clear adhesive, but I think all the adhesive I have is blue. I think my tape runner is blue. So I'm probably just going to add some stitching down the middle of each one, and that'll give it a little bit of movement as well instead of keeping it flat on the page. So I'm just adding a little bit of those pop dots and just trying to center it up on my page. I do want to keep kind of that 3-on-3 grid going on, but it doesn't have to be perfect. I don't want the cards to be perfectly aligned. As you can see, some of my, I think one of my photos is square and the other ones are a little more rectangular, and I like that it's not exactly perfect. So there are the cards with my journaling, or the tags with the journaling, and I'm just going to pop them in underneath each photo with that pocket there. And since that pocket is there, they slide in super easily. And once I put this in an album, you should be able to see that those tags slide out. So there's some hidden journaling. I often get questions about doing these interactive pages. How does the person know if they're looking through an album? And I just think about it as just a happy surprise. If somebody happens to see it and finds it and reads it, then that's great. But if it just gets flipped through and not looked at, I think there's so many stories and memories documented that one day somebody might stumble across it and just be surprised. Now that everything is kind of lined up, the last part is just any additional embellishments or elements that I might want to add onto the page. I'm not really sure about this clothespin right here. I really like the look of it, but it's definitely pulling since I have it on the pop dots, that pop dot is kind of in the way and it's pulling up the photo a little bit. I have a frame here. This is I think it's from the Maggie Holmes flea market collection that's just been sitting on my desk. I haven't used it on anything yet, and I think I might add it on there just for a little bit more texture, give a little bit of framing around that photo. These are the Studio Calico Days of the Week clothespins. Thought maybe I might use that one, but I think it might be a little bit too bold. I think I like something a little bit more neutral up there in the top. I really like the idea of the clothespins, but I felt like the page might be a little busy to add those. And again, I don't like the way that one's kind of lifting that picture up there. So I have a couple bit of those Dear Lizzie flair, the Daydreamer flair. They are a little bit smaller than a regular flare button. So I feel like for these smaller photos, they work perfectly. They're not too overwhelming or too large around my photos. So I think I'm going to add two of these, kind of pulled the colors to match with Wilna's Printables, that pink and that blue. In the middle card, the one that says date, I stamped the month and the year, or I typed, the month and the year on there. And then on the top and the bottom cards, the one that are the black one with the black ink that had a little box for journaling, I also typed just a couple little sentences in each box just to finish those cards off and give them a finished look right there. And just for a little more color, kind of bring out the blue from that flare a little bit, I'm going to add one of the star paper clips from the 2P shop. I know I say this in every video, but I really love those. I'm pretty sure one ends up on almost every project that I make. They're perfect and they don't take too much away from your photos. And I'm thinking that I might want to add something to the bottom photo, the one where my kids are looking in the rearview mirror. I'm thinking I might want to add something down there, and I grabbed out this Just Go banner from Studio Calico, but I feel like it might be a little bold. The gold, the frame around my kids in the far right corner is gold, so I thought maybe I could play off of the gold of that frame with this gold glittered banner. But in the end, I ended up sewing some just scrap pieces of paper and a tag together, which I'll show you in just one second. There's my finished layout. So you can see in the bottom I used, I sewed a couple pieces of scrap paper together and used another wood veneer. I like that wood veneer since I wasn't using that today cloud down there. I like how the wood veneer is a little neutral. And then at the top I used one of the little flower pins from the Maggie Holmes. I think that's from the flea market collection last year. I like that pink, the pop of the pink of the page. And here's a look at my finished page, my grid design there with my photos. Wilna's beautiful watercolored printables. They look really beautiful printed on vellum. You can see in the top left that that black is still pretty vibrant, but the pastel colors are pretty soft and delicate. I like the contrast of the two. A couple more detail shots for you. You can see the little tags peeking out under each photo with my journaling. And that's it, guys. Thanks so much for joining me today. Let me know if you have any questions and can't wait to see what you make in the gallery. Have a good day.